Kumbum Monastery in northwest China's Qinghai province is famed as one of the 6 great Gelugpa sect Buddhist monasteries in the world. Each year, the monks here spend months preparing magnificent butter sculptures, which are then unveiled to the public during Chinese Lantern Festival. But creating such exquisite art out of butter is no easy feat. The monks start work at the break of day and work in temperatures of below 10 degrees to ensure the butter stays firm. Yinba Jiacuo and his fellow monks have been working on the art for over 2 months. Despite the freezing temperatures, he and his co-workers are determined to create the most magnificent sculptures yet. The creation of butter flowers is among 3 remarkable skills the monks at Kumbum Monastery are renowned for. This unique art form originated in Tibet and usually features religious figures, animals, and in some cases depicts the elaborate storylines of well-known Tibetan stories. Legend has it that Tsongkhapa, the founder of the Gelugpa sect, once dreamt of animals and birds during the prayer meeting. He then asked his fellow monks to recreate his dream in butter and offer it to Buddha as a form of worship.
Tsongkhapa wanted to offer flowers to Maitreya, the happy Buddha, during winter. But because of the high altitude and cold weather, there were no flowers growing in the whole of the Tibetan area. Then he had a dream where he was able to present flowers to Sakyamuni, the founder of Buddhism. The next day, some clever monks came up with the idea of carving flowers out of butter. At that time, the sculptures had no color. And of course, things have changed a lot in the hundreds of years since then.
Yinba Jiacuo first came to Kumbum Monastery at the age of 14. It was then that he started to study the art of butter sculpting. Now he's one of the finest butter sculpture artists in the monastery.
I arrived here in 1983 when I was just 14 years old. At first, we would practice carving some basic items such as watermelons, apples, and other religious objects for Buddhist ceremonies.
Yinba Jiacuo told us that the learning process is long and arduous. When one first starts to study butter sculpting, he's required to follow his master.
When I first started to learn butter sculpting, we were strictly supervised. The senior monks would use this room to create butter flowers and religious figures. We had to work in another room. After 2 to 3 years, we were moved to this room and instructed to carve houses. After we had grasped these basic skills, we were allowed to decorate the handmade houses.
Since butter is prone to melting when in contact with heat, Yinba Jiacuo keeps a bowl of icy water at his side while he works. He mixes the butter into a paste, then starts to create the shapes that he wants. The monks usually start work on the sculptures during the coldest period of the year to ensure that the sculptures stay solid for as long as possible. The sculptures are then arranged onto frames and fixed to boards to create a religious scene or landscape. While they work, the monks dip their hands into freezing water to ensure their hands don't melt the butter.
The most difficult thing about butter sculpting is the coldness. We cannot light a fire in the room, even though temperatures sometimes dip to below 20 degrees in the winter. I think we monks are really hardworking, but we all have one aim in mind, to create really magnificent butter sculptures.
Yinba told us that he's now been creating butter sculptures for over 30 years, and it's become his life's devotion.
It is the techniques that really matters. You need to take all the best parts you've learned over the past decades and put all your energy into the art to see what you can achieve. I feel I must push myself to do the best I can, and then it's up to the visitors to decide whether or not they like the artworks.
The Kumbum Monastery has 2 teams who create butter sculptures. Each year the teams compete to see which can create the better artworks. The teams keep their designs a secret up until the grand unveiling.
All the monks at this monastery, as well as visitors, help judge which sculpture is the best. After the Lantern Festival, we are told the result, and the winning one is erected in a special place.
After a long period of time, the two sculpting teams developed into independent sects. As a result, the butter sculpting became more competitive. Butter flowers were first seen at Kumbum Monastery in 1603. After over 400 years, butter sculpting has become an integral part of Tibetan Buddhism. Every year, the monastery holds prayer meetings for the Lantern Festival, followed by the grand unveiling of the sculptures. On this day, the monastery is filled with monks and visitors. However, when asked about what the future holds for this tradition, Yinpa says he has his concerns.
Young people don't want to learn this art because it's so hard and it means working in cold conditions. While other people are keeping warm by the fireplace, we need to be in a cold room, which is sometimes even colder than the temperature outside.
Yinpa likes to oversee all of the artwork. In his eyes, the finished pieces are always worth the hard work that goes into them. In 2006, butter sculpting was listed as a First National Intangible Cultural Heritage.